In this video, I am trying to make a record of the series of experiments I did on my return from Catalhoyuk back in 2007. I was invited by Ian Hodder as an artist in residence to join the excavation for the summer. The settlement is in southern Turkey. It was a major Neolithic settlement inhabited between 7,500 and 6,500 BCE. Excavations began in the 1960s under James Mellard, revealing tightly packed mud brick houses without streets, decorated with murals and figurines that suggest symbolic and ritual life. Ian Hodder renewed work from 1993 onward, using modern archaeological techniques to study daily life, social organization, and belief. Findings show that the people of Catalhoyuk practiced early farming and animal domestication, lived in egalitarian communities, and maintained strong spiritual traditions. The figurines you see on the screen are a series of figurines I made while in the excavation using mud brick plaster from the floor. The entire settlement was covered in such plaster. I imagine anyone could have built a house using only their skills and bare hands. After photographing the figurines, I was required by government regulations to destroy them, to avoid confusion, and I returned the plaster to the ground. In these photographs you can see the interior of the experimental house in Catalhoyuk. The wall paintings were recreated by a charming American archaeologist replicating the original artworks. My hat, notes and materials are scattered across the floor. That interior became my home for an entire month. On the night of the full moon, I was allowed to sleep on the floor of the unit. It was quite an experience. I was allowed to use the unit during the day, but at night I had to sleep at the quarters with everybody else. But that night was special. I was given a small sack of 6,000-year-old mud brick plaster to take home to experiment with in my studio in London. The plaster had originally been shaped and used by the inhabitants to build their houses. It is standard archaeological procedure, once all records and photographs of a level have been completed, to partially dismantle it to reach the lower, older layers. Once in the studio, I first tried placing the plaster inside the small wooden frames, but it cracked as it dried. I then decided to form small circles and squares, using them as surfaces to further experiment with color. The pebbles you see on the screen are part of the experiment. The plaster dries quickly and it can be easily dissolved with water to manipulate it again, if for whatever reason you want to start again. While I was in Catalhoyuk, Füsun Ertürk, an ethnobotanist, archaeologist and academic, kindly allowed me to record a video of her discussing the pigments that might have been used in prehistoric times. Here is a fragment.
The first thing I suggested to you is for the red source, madder.
Yeah, which I got the
roots. Yes, you now have some roots. Yeah. So those roots are a very strong source of madder, red. And pomegranate also gives that kind of dark.
Is there a particular time I can use the pomegranate, or all year round, as long as I have a pomegranate?
As long as you have fresh pomegranate. So all the
skin, just the skin.
Just the skin. Then you can try all kinds of green leaves. Mm-hmm. But
green leaves. Any green leaves?
Any green leaves, but you can try, for example, walnut greens.
Okay.
For example, and what else? Onions.
Onions.
You can try.
What color do I get from onions?
Yellowish. They usually make a brownish coffee, like a limited amount of water, and then you can leave that substance to dry under the sun. Mm-hmm. So
that I get a sort of a
yeah,
body.
it's made. You can try the same with maybe walnut skins.
Mm-hmm.
You can make an experiment. Yeah, if you boil them, see if you can get
see if I can get the substance, and then I dry it in the sun.
Yeah,
and then I crush it.
you can crush it, or maybe it becomes a little dusty.
And anything else besides walnut and pomegranate that you can think of?
Well, there are lots of other dye plants, but I don't know which ones are available around here, and which ones you can really use without boiling.
And this color that you saw in this painting, which is similar to the color that is there, over there, what would you say this red is, in your opinion? Can you recognize it? Does it feel familiar to you?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
What would you say it is?
The same color, it's a very pale color of an old kilim, so that it reminds me madder.
Of the root.
Yeah.
So
but it can be, of course, iron oxide.
Following her advice, I set up a small laboratory in my studio and attempted to make dyes using her instructions. The intensity of the colors was remarkable, as you can see in the samples. Here you can see a series of samples of materials used. The softness of the colors was quite extraordinary. I do not know how permanent the pigments would be, but today, almost 20 years later, they still keep their glow.